suppose that you're trying to play, some kind of video game. Like I like Grand Theft Auto. A lot of people are still playing that game. So Grand Theft Auto. Uh, when you play the game, you see cars on virtual roads and buildings and so forth, and you see a steering wheel, and you use that headset, that VR headset, to negotiate the game and try to beat the other players. Now, you're not seeing the reality, which in this example would be there's some supercomputer somewhere with all sorts of bits running, at millions of bits per second in a precise pattern being sent through channels in the computer and being processed.
And you're watching it.
That would be the reality.
Yeah.
All I can see is this headset. I'm not seeing the computer. And you could, in principle, play the game by toggling bits, toggling those bits in the computer the right way, because that's what's really going on. But good luck. The person who doesn't see that reality of the computer and just sees a little fake steering wheel and the fake cars is going to beat you. And so here's a case where knowing the truth isn't going to actually help you win in the game. It's going to actually slow you down. So the idea is, Darwin was right. It's survival of the fittest. Evolution is shaping you to have the most fit sensory systems, and those sensory systems are designed to hide the truth and to just give you a user interface that lets you play the game of life. So you're playing the game of life with a headset. So again, I don't want to say that Darwin is the final word, right? I'm not saying that at all. It's the best we've got right now, and so that's why I'm talking about it. And it's a wonderful theory. I use it, and it's powerful. I hope that we'll transcend it, and very, very soon. But right now, Darwin's theory says this is just a game, and it's a headset designed to help you play the game well.
So with that theory, we are just essentially watching through a headset.
That's right.
So we're not actually in the reality of this world, but we're watching the reality of this world through a device.
Yes, you are effectively, whatever you are not a physical body in space and time. That is not who you are.
Really?
So here you are, 200-pound, 300-pound person, whatever it might be, 6 foot whatever or 5 foot whatever. And most of us think that's who I am. And I'm saying, no, that's just your avatar in a particular headset, and you're not confined to that avatar. You're not identified with that. You might think you're your avatar, and I understand. I mean, I'm easily identified with my avatar, but it's just an avatar, and it's a headset that you can take off, and we all do.
So with this information, how does someone take off the virtual reality headset of the game they're playing in this world to optimize their experience, to optimize their life, to have a better, more meaningful, more rich and fulfilling experience?
Well, of course, we all eventually take it off, even if we don't want to, right? So that we'll all eventually face that, but we can take it off now. There are various meditative practices, for example, where you can see that you're not the headset and that you're just looking through the headset and see yourself identifying with the headset, but you can step back. So I spend time in meditation and basically just letting go of thought. Literally just, if you ask yourself the question, I wonder what my next thought is going to be, and you wait in silence. That space where you don't have any thoughts is, I think, the deepest pointer that I can give to who you really are. And that silent awareness is you beyond the headset. And as soon as then you start going into thoughts, then you re-identify with this body and your problems and so forth. But I think ultimately my own view about things is that reality infinitely transcends space and time. You are that reality. And in some sense, your consciousness is just choosing to look through an infinite number of headsets. So there's a Lewis headset and a Don headset, and this one consciousness is having a conversation with itself between two headsets and enjoying and learning. So it's almost like the one consciousness views itself from an infinite number of perspectives, chooses to put on an infinite number of headsets and enjoy that perspective, maybe get lost in it, completely identify with it, feel pain, feel joy, the whole range of emotions, discoveries, and so forth, get completely lost in it, and then slowly wake up and realize, oh, that was just a headset. And boy, did I learn a lot from that perspective. And now it's time to, there's an infinite number of other headsets to
Wow.
go and try out.
So would you say that there is no reality? There's just perspective of what we're experiencing?
Yeah, I would say that you are reality. You in silence, not any story you tell. Any story you tell about yourself is not you. You are much, much deeper. So whatever you are is that which can entertain any story, every story, enjoy it, and then not identify with it and let it go. So whatever you are is infinitely beyond any headset, but you are looking at yourself through an infinite number of different perspectives.
So what happens if we experience something and then we tell ourselves a story about what happened and we attach meaning to that story? What are we doing when we attach meaning to an identity or a story about what we perceive as happening?
Well, I think what we're doing is we're playing a role and we're learning a perspective on who we are. And it's interesting that consciousness seems to be willing to just go in with both feet. I'm just going to go in there and lose myself. I really transcend all this, but to really understand this perspective on this, I'm going to be a 5-year-old kid in a sandbox, and I'm going to let myself completely fall apart when someone else steals my shovel in the sandbox. I'm just going to let myself fall apart and feel like my world has collapsed. And then when I'm a teenager, I'll let myself fall apart when a date goes wrong or I flunk a class or something like that. And so we let ourselves completely identify with it, jobs, careers, everything, failures, successes. We go in with both feet. And at the end of life, you look back and you go, wow, that was quite a ride. And I'm glad I did it. And that's not me. I transcend that. And now it's time to take off the headset.
As a cognitive researcher and scientist, what is the greatest tool that you've learned that has brought you more peace, abundance, and joy in your life that anyone else should be learning as well?
I would say that there are two almost contradictory aspects that I've found important in their own ways. One is, as I've mentioned, going into silence and letting go of all thoughts and anything I might be clinging to is, I think, really critical. It's stepping back from everything that I identify with and just watching it and realizing that, oh, whatever I am is the watcher, not the story, not the thing that I'm seeing, not the thing that I thought was so important. I'm the watcher that can just watch all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, of course, new with me. Many spiritual traditions have been saying that for thousands of years. But so that's one side of the story.
Why is that such a powerful tool for people to create more peace, joy, and abundance?
Well, so I'll be very practical about it. So the way I apply it in everyday life is I might be, for example, driving up here on the freeway through Los Angeles. And it's rush hour and there's lots of traffic. And I can just watch myself get irritated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a story. So here I am, I'm driving. It's important for me to get somewhere. There's these frustrations in front of me. I can let myself, I can see I'm being irritated. It just comes up. So I look at that and I step back. All of a sudden I sort of wake up. Oh, there's Hoffman in his avatar playing the game of the freeway and getting upset about it. All I have to do is just look at it. Okay. Oh, feel that feeling. Oh yeah, there's some frustration. There's some irritation. Very, very interesting. And I just watch it. That's not me. And then watch it dissolve. And just watch that irritation. So what happens on a practical level is when you realize it's just a headset, it's just a game. And it's all the other players are you with different avatars in the game. All of a sudden, you realize there's no reason for me to be in competition with you. Except as, a friendly competition or whatever. Just, you want to play handball with me? Sure, we'll play handball.
Yeah.
I'll try to beat you, but
Okay.
then I'll shake your hand and we'll have a drink or something. So it's really to recognize that in the moment, I can just step back from the story, step back and look at my emotions. And that's the key point. I can look at my emotions and realize I'm watching the emotions. I'm not the emotions. I'm the watcher of the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to step back. And for most of us, that's sort of a surprise. I mean, I understand firsthand how surprising this is. What do you mean? I am mad, and that's what I am. I am mad, or I'm frustrated. Well, actually, you can just watch the frustration. You can realize, oh, wait, that's just an energy in my body. I can feel that. I don't have to identify with it. And if I just watch, actually, sometimes it dissolves quickly. Sometimes it takes 10, 15 minutes, but it will dissolve, and I can just watch it. And that energy, which was frustrated, gets transformed into something which is much more dynamic and positive. And so it's actually transformation of frustration into a positive energy.
And when you are saying that you're the watcher of your thoughts or feelings or what you're identifying as, does it mean now, instead of the avatar of you in this virtual reality, I guess, that you're in this game, you're able to almost step out of that avatar in your mind and see, oh, I'm actually controlling in some ways this avatar, playing this game, but I am not the character in this game. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's exactly right.
So I'm actually, I don't know, the puppet master of my avatar.
That's right.
If I allow myself to create distance emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, mentally, and remember who I am,
That's right.
which is not the avatar.
Exactly.
Remember that I'm in control of this avatar.
Right.
And then I'm not in the game of life. I'm actually stepping out, playing the game of life.
Exactly right. That's right. You get that perspective so that you don't identify with the avatar, and then all of a sudden, you can just watch the emotions going through your body instead of identifying and really then gripping and holding on to things and getting upset about things. You can just peacefully watch them, and of course enjoy the good things and enjoy life. But you eventually you realize that I am just the watcher, and this is just the avatar,
Where is the watcher?
entirely outside of space and time. And that's the interesting thing, that science, the high energy theoretical physicists are now saying space and time are not the fundamental nature of reality. They're finding these new structures, positive geometries outside of space and time. That's just a baby step, right? We're just taking, science is just waking up to the fact that this is a headset and that we can step out. So this is brand, like,
Really?
now scientists, of course, the physicists have known for a long time that space-time falls apart at the Planck scale. So that's not brand new. That's been for a while. But the idea that we can actually now use the tools of science and rigorously, not hand wave, rigorously with mathematical precision, discover mathematical structures that we can then test back in the headset of space-time to see if we're getting the right structures to predict things. Because in our headset, we can only get our data inside the headset. Science is restricted to what can you find in the headset.
Right.
And that's how we have
What tools and technology that are available, what resources are available to study what's in this digital world, I guess, right?
That's right.
So for those who are watching or listening and are not understanding this right now, let me try to break this down, what I'm hearing you say, and try to simplify this. What I'm hearing you say, based on the research and the science that you've done as a cognitive scientist, professor for 40 plus years, and the other research of other scientists you've worked with, is that what we are experiencing right now as human beings is not the full truth, is not fully real, is what I'm hearing you say. That this world we are in, you could call it a simulation, you could call it a game, you could call it an experience, whatever you want to call it. But there is something outside of us, beyond us, that is running our body and our thoughts and our avatar in this world. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's right. That's right.
And would that mean that there are billions of individual consciousnesses in another space-time or another area of consciousness or thought, or I don't know where, that are then all running their virtual avatars in this world, that are all wearing a headset and playing the game of this game of Earth world we call?
So I would say that yes, there are an infinite number of conscious avatars, and they have a wide variety of different kinds of headsets. Ours is probably one of the more trivial. We have 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time. We're forced to be attached to a physical avatar in this. And I think that most of the headsets that are available for consciousness to play with probably have much higher dimensions. Why not 50,000 dimensions, right? Why should we be stuck in 3? I mean,
There's different worlds that they're playing in, is what you're saying.
exactly, different worlds. Maybe with the very notions of space and time themselves are no longer even relevant in these other headsets.
But let's just, in this, I guess, moment, our puppet master, our consciousness that's running our avatar, are they only playing in one game right now? Do they only have one headset on in this world for this period of time while we're alive?
Well, the way I would think of it is there is the one consciousness, of which Lewis and Don are just 2 avatars.
Yes.
But it's the same consciousness ultimately through Lewis and Don and all the billions of people on Earth. But then there's a mathematical model I'm working on with some colleagues, including Chetan Prakash and others, that would say that this one consciousness has literally an infinite number of incredibly varied headsets that it can use. And most of them, in fact, do not fit into a space-time kind of format at all. They transcend that. But what we can do as scientists is show how we can have a mathematical model of all possible consciousness structures, and then show how some of them, a small fraction of them, could give rise to this kind of headset, and show precisely how you could build this kind of space-time headset.
Okay. I don't know if I'm fully understanding it, but I'm going to get there because it's getting closer to me. I'm curious about how people can, and we may never fully understand what this is, but for myself and for my audience, I think what's going to be helpful is figuring out how can they maximize their experience here.
Yes.
With this world that we're in. And
sure.
And I think most people think that their brain creates their thoughts and feelings. But I think in your research, you say that it works the other way around. So does our brain create our thoughts and our feelings, or is it something else?
That's a good question. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist. I study the brain, and I think it should be studied. There's 86 billion neurons, trillions of synapses. There's a lot going on there that we should absolutely understand. And I'm all for that research. That being said, I don't think that neurons exist when they're not perceived. So right now, I have no neurons. If you were to open my skull and look, you would see neurons, but you are creating them on the fly, just like in a virtual reality game, right? I look over there and I see a red Ferrari in Grand Theft Auto. I render the red Ferrari when I look. When I look over there, there's no red Ferrari because I'm not rendering it. And there's no red Ferrari in the supercomputer. You can look in the supercomputer. There's no red Ferrari there. There's bits in the...
It's only when you start to perceive an area, then it enters your frame of sight.
That's right. And that's the only existence that it has. The red Ferrari in the VR game is only there as a perception, and only as long as you choose to perceive it. As soon as you look away, that's gone. So neurons are what we perceive, what we render in the headset when we look inside brains. But they're not the reality. But I should be very, very careful. I want to say neuroscience is very, very important. We actually need more money for neuroscience because what we have to do is look at the neuroscience and reverse engineer it. There's something outside, there's software outside the headset, just like in the VR game, right? There's software rendering that Ferrari. And if you want to understand how that Ferrari is rendered, you've got to go to the supercomputer and look at the code. Well, so that's what we have to do. We have to study the brain, study the 86 billion neurons, trillions of synapses. That's just the data for the next step out of the headset. What is the code that's rendering the space-time headset and rendering the 86 billion neurons and trillions of synapses? So neuroscience is very, very important, and we should study it, but brains don't exist when they're not perceived, and they cause none of our behavior.
So what is creating our thoughts, feelings, and our behavior if it's not the brain?
So it's our consciousness plunging itself into a particular avatar and choosing to have that perspective on things. So that's what's really going on, is that consciousness is choosing to limit itself in certain ways, give itself certain obstacle courses with a certain kind of headset, and play the game.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.